Then instead, child services would probably take you away for that.
That's why I say off the record for that, because I think it's a bit insane. And the fact that I don't remember it to that extent as well, because I probably blocked it out.
Your mind blocked it out. It was very traumatic for you.
I obviously blocked it out.
Welcome to Talks with B. My name is Benita Barrow, and today with me I have
Ursula
again. And today we'll be talking about childhood trauma that leads to emotional baggage. So today we'll be talking about basically how you were raised and how you deal with your emotions because of that, and just all the emotional baggage that comes with your childhood experiences. So we're going to jump straight into it. And our first topic is how has how you were raised affected how you deal with your emotions?
In a massive way. I think a big part that's impacted it is having very emotional parents that don't actually know that they're emotional. That makes sense.
They're in denial about being emotional.
My dad is extremely emotional. Usually men are always like, women are so emotional and men have no emotions. But my dad is a very emotional person. He gets so upset easily. He's been depressed for most of his life. He feels things so strongly. He gets moody. He's extremely emotional person, but he's just never dealt with it. And because of that, it's you kind of have to walk on your tippy toes around him, or make sure you're not upsetting or offending him because he's easy to offend. And it's just funny because he can say really deep stuff to you, but
and
then
you're supposed to be like, oh, okay,
yeah, but if
cool.
you say it to him, he'll literally never live it down and just be so upset. And then my mom experiences really bad anxiety and depression, and she has for my whole life, and her emotions are very intense. And I feel for a large part of my life I felt I'm responsible for looking after emotions, which is a very difficult job as a child, to look after someone's emotions, especially when they're so intense. So I feel dealing with those opposing emotions has made it difficult for me to tackle my own, because I'm an emotional person myself. I know I am, and it's really difficult to confront what I'm going through because of what I see with my parents and how they can often burden me, and then I never focus on myself. If that makes sense.
Yeah. You're so used to putting their emotions first and how they're going to feel that you just become secondary to yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't have the time to focus on my own, and it's it's difficult because I feel your parents should teach you
how
about
to deal with your emotions and emotional intelligence.
Yeah, and I had to teach myself all of that stuff because my parent, especially my mother, is so bad. She was so bad at handling her emotions when I was growing up, and seeing how it takes over her. And it I love her. She is a great mother, but it did impact how she was a parent, because she wasn't able to parent me a lot of the times because she couldn't handle the emotions. And
that's deep.
Yeah. It was it's difficult to learn all of that all by yourself because you're used to your parents teaching you about emotional intelligence and all that stuff. You learn from what you see, and that's not the best role model when they let their emotions overtake them. And parents are allowed to have emotions because parents are humans. They're allowed to experience their emotions, but I just wish they would acknowledge it more and acknowledge mine more.
And see how their emotions affect the people around them.
100%. That's all I wish, yeah.
That's very deep. But I 100% get it. I think for me, so I was sort of raised in a home where, I think most people were raised in a home where it's the adult is always right, and if you're a kid, you just listen to what the adult says, and whatever you're feeling is invalid. You have to listen to them, they're right, you're wrong.
Yeah.
So I think I wasn't necessarily taught how to deal with emotions or emotional intelligence, because firstly how do I say this nicely? Because I don't think my parents were taught it either. Like it goes back to just my grandparents, great grandparents before all of that. So it's not like I'm blaming them for not necessarily teaching me emotional intelligence because they didn't know it themselves. You can't teach something that you don't know. But as you get older and you become so much more self-aware and you start to do some introspection, you're like, wait a minute, I actually don't know how to deal with my emotions because I was never taught how to. And I mean, at that age, you have to start taking accountability and be like, okay, now I have to teach myself. So I think I grew up a lot of the time feeling like my emotions were invalid. Like if I was angry, that's invalid. You don't have space to be angry, just be grateful. That's kind of the only emotion I was necessarily allowed to feel, gratitude. Which I think it is an important emotion. It's very important to be grateful for what 100%. You have. But you're also allowed to be angry, you're also allowed to be upset, you're also allowed to feel anxiety and all these other emotions. And also I kind of felt like I was sort of raised in a home where there's just that person whose emotions are just so big and so they take up so much space that your emotions, like it goes back to the whole your emotions are invalid, that you're not necessarily allowed to have emotions. If this person's happy, the whole house now has to be happy. If this person's angry, whole house now has to be angry. Which I mean isn't necessarily nice because now let's say you're happy about something great happens to you, but they're having a bad day. You can't express that happiness. Exactly. You have to keep it to yourself and be like, my small win, thank you. Even if it's not a small win.
Definitely.
And that's not necessarily, fair. So I think for me, it affected me in the sense of, and also we actually talked about this earlier just now. You said how you were dealing with something and you kind of shut yourself off because you just had to isolate yourself because that's how you wanted to deal with it. So because I wasn't necessarily raised in a home where I could, let's say, go talk to my parents about how I was feeling, or my sisters. I wasn't that close to my sisters when I was growing up, but now I am. So if I was feeling any type of emotion, firstly, out of the fear of being told that I'm not allowed to feel this and I just need to be grateful, whatever. And secondly, just out of not knowing how to articulate what I was feeling, I would never, like I can't, when I'm angry, when I'm upset, or when I'm angry, when I'm upset, I cut myself off, isolate myself. I'm like, I don't want to be around anyone, leave me alone. And it's a bit, not that it's toxic. I mean, it is a coping mechanism, but it's not a good one sometimes.
It's not good, definitely.
You need to learn how to speak about things sometimes.
Definitely.
And things when I'm pissed off or angry, don't even talk to me because I'll be mean to you, I'll be rude to you. You don't want to be around me, just leave me alone. But I've been definitely trying to deal with that and learning how to, as much as now, I think I understand that I can be a bit of a mean person when I'm angry. So I don't talk to someone when I'm angry. I'm like, I need to cool down a little bit. But it's no longer like an isolation thing. It's a thing of now I can speak about how I feel. I have emotional intelligence. I know how to articulate how I'm feeling. But I just need time to firstly cool myself down. Because also the thing is, when you speak to someone when you're angry and upset, you're going to say things that are very rude, very mean, things that you're going to regret. And you're speaking out of emotion, not out of facts. And also, if someone's shouting at you and, being upset with you, whatever they're saying is just going to feel like, dude, get over yourself. But if they speak to you in a calm demeanor, calm tone, you're going to be able to take what they're saying better.
You're speaking such things.
So now I've just kind of learned to, I'm upset, I need space from you, but I'll come talk to you about how I'm feeling.
That's a very interesting point because it's like the difference between like giving yourself space to cool down and be able to approach a conversation rationally compared to like isolating yourself. Because I do the latter. When I feel emotionally overwhelmed, I isolate because the only way for me to handle such a situation is by like being by myself.
And processing how you're feeling by yourself.
Exactly. Because also I can lash out. I'm not necessarily mean. Like, I'm mean to the people closest to me. That is my fault. That I'm mean to people close to me. But like if I'm not that close to you, I'm like so scared of confrontation. And I struggle to stand up for myself. So I just close myself off and I just like deal with emotions by myself. Because obviously growing up, you aren't spoken to about your emotions. So you just learn to handle them by yourself because that's the only time you feel valid.
The confrontation thing. So when you were younger, did you ever feel like you can go speak to your parents about?
Nope.
As you were saying, I was like, maybe the reason we both didn't like confrontation is because we were never taught how to speak about the situation. Going back to what I said, how the older person is always right. Whatever you feel and whatever you've done, it's wrong. And I'm not like going off at that idea, because I do think as you're growing up, older people are right, they are wiser, they know the right way to go and the wrong way to go, but they're not always right. I think it's very wrong to give the narrative of that an older person's like always right. Exactly, because they're human, they're going through their own stuff. Sometimes they lash out on you for absolutely no reason. Like, I didn't even do anything that bad and just lashing out, and that's because they've had a bad day. So now continuing that cycle of no, I'm right, you're wrong, that's not necessarily fair. And it makes it so hard to confront people, because now it feels like I'm going to create unnecessary conflict, but your feelings aren't conflict, your feelings are valid. What you're feeling,
that's exactly,
you're allowed to feel what you're feeling.
Definitely. And I feel like with my parents, like bringing up something you think they've done wrong and trying to have a conversation.
That's a war. You're starting a war doing that.
When you start that conversation, you start it with intention of being heard and changing that behavior. Because I'm not doing it, I'm not coming to them because I want to say you're a bad parent, you're wrong. I'm saying it because I want to change, you know, like I just want, you know, to feel valid and all those things. But as soon as you say a piece of criticism, it's like, oh, I'm a bad mother, I'm a bad father. And then the end of the conversation ends with you apologizing to them.
For your feelings and for what they've done.
Exactly. So that's why I think I completely agree. Like the whole confrontation thing is like, it's just better off not confronting. Because at the end, you're going to be in the wrong, even though you just wanted to have like a good conversation, you know.
Exactly. I actually saw a video this one time. There's this girl on TikTok. I know they were playing like a joke on their father or something. And then they were saying something about him, and they were like, us criticizing you is not an attack on your parenting style, you know. As much as they were saying it like it is still a jokey kind of sense, because the whole idea was jokey. But I was like, but that's very real. I feel like a lot of the time, not even just parents, I think people in general, you kind of criticizing them, it makes them feel like that's an attack on me. Like, it's not an attack on you, it's just an attack. It's not even an attack, actually. It's just like me saying, it's just me saying, listen, I don't think this is the right way to go about this. So I think maybe in the future, you know, but I think I haven't always been good at criticism also, because I've been like, why are you attacking me? Why? Do you hate me? Yeah. And now I've started to learn, actually one of my prayers this year was asking God to help me with criticism. Like if someone tells me something, God, give me the wisdom and the humility, because it takes a lot of humility to take criticism.
Definitely.
Give me the humility and wisdom to take that criticism and understand, because sometimes people criticize you in a way that's not loving. Firstly, it's not because they want you to be better, it's because they want to put you down. But some people do criticize you in a way of, listen, I think you could be better at this, and I'm saying it because I love you and I want you to be better. And I was just like, God, help me to understand the different types of criticism, to have discernment on them, so that I can take them boldly and know which ones to take, which ones to be like, dude, I'm not even going to listen to you. But that's a bit off topic. But
I love that, because it's so true.
Exactly. We only speak the truth, But, okay, I think we've pretty much touched a lot on that number one.
Yes.
But yeah, if you're listening to this or watching this, I think that is, and you haven't had that conversation with yourself, I think that is a conversation that you do need to have with yourself. And moving on. So our second topic is silent treatment. And we've talked about this a lot. I don't know if you want to start.
Where do I start? Where? Silent treatments.
Okay, wait. First, let's actually explain, just in case some people may not know what silent treatment is, but I'm pretty sure we've all experienced it from someone or done it to someone. So usually if you do something that upsets someone or whatever, they'll kind of give you silent treatment as a punishment. Like, you've made me upset, so I'm just not going to talk to you. I know I do it quite a lot, because that's what I grew up seeing. So that to me was like, okay, that's a proper act of punishment, you know. And I've had it being done to me a lot. And if you do this to people, or if you've had it done to you, okay, but mostly for the people that do it to other people, you may not like what we have to say, but you may need to hear it. And please understand that we also do it. So it's not like we're criticizing you. We also do it, so we understand it. But it's not a healthy way to go about in your relationships, and we are going to explain why and talk about it. So, yeah.
Definitely. Perfect. So, I mean, something I often say, was like, when I was talking to my sister mainly, because we share the same trauma, is that I sometimes wish my parents were stricter and disciplined in like other ways. Like, I wish we got shouted at. Like, I wish we got a hit on the wrist and told, no, don't do that. You know, like, short discipline, and then afterwards they embrace you again. You know, when parents do that. And it like...
I don't know.
Yeah, no.
I don't know.
Not our
I
parents.
wouldn't know.
But I kind of wish we had, like, because most of the time children will be like, oh, I hate when my parents shout at me and all that. But sometimes that type of discipline teaches you wrong from right, and it's just, like, it's so much more valuable. Being given silent treatment as a child, I think, is so, like... I don't know what the word I'm looking for. It's just like, it's just
weird.
It's
weird.
Just
weird. Like when you really think about it, it's like you're 40 and you're giving a 5-year-old silent treatment, bro.
It's weird, and it does, like, it makes a major psychological effect on that child. I mean, like, to this day, silent treatment traumatizes me. But like, as a child, like, children, think about what children want. Children want attention. They want love. They want to be seen. They want to be seen. We all know children can be annoying because most of the time they just want to be seen, you know.
Little attention seekers.
Exactly. And the worst thing you could do to them is literally lock them away and like close them off, and use that as a form of punishment. And take a break now because I'm going to tell you the what's it called?
Off the record.
Okay. Yeah. That's so just believe me.
To understand child services would probably take you away for that.
That's why I said off the record for that, because I think it's a bit insane. And the fact that I don't remember it to that extent as well, because I probably blocked it out.
Your mind blocked it out. It was very traumatic for you.
I obviously blocked it out, but my sister was telling me, like, this makes sense why I was so messed up in isolation.
Yeah, definitely off the record.
It's a bit too deep to be honest.
You know what's so weird is that I've actually watched like episodes of Criminal Minds where parents also used to do that to their kids.
Because she never used to do it to my sister, just me. Because my sister had different ways of dealing with things. Like, if I guess this can go on record, like my sister, when she would do something wrong, her response was always to retreat and just be quiet and to herself. Like, that's how she is now. Like, if she ever does something wrong, she's just very to herself. And as a child, I was more vocal, like more of the attention-seeking type of child, and that's why I got most of the isolation.
Because so used to like seeing it acting a certain way, so it's like if you act different now, we're gonna also make you isolate.
So I mean, this is something I still get to this day. Like, if going back to the criticizing your parents, like if I talk to my mom about something that like I'm not happy with, and I criticize her, it's like, she won't talk to me until I apologize to her. She just won't talk to me. She'll be quiet. You could like just see them sulking and she'll be like, I'm not gonna talk to you. And you talk to them and they say nothing back. It's just like, it's just very draining.
For me, it was so weird when I was in Cape Town with my sisters, and they had like a little squabble at lunch. And it's so weird because we're all raised in the same home. So I was like, it was so weird for me to see how they sorted that out, because they had their little disagreements. Damn near shouting at each other. And this is out in public.
Really?
So now I'm not good with conflict. Like if there's conflict, I'm just there like, okay, this is cool too, I guess. It just makes me feel uneasy, especially because I'm in with my two sisters. Whose side do I take? Yeah,
exactly.
And I won't say whose side I took there, but so then my sister. So like, I think 2 minutes later, after things died down a bit, it's quite quiet at the table though. And then I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was like the waiter that came to our table kind of like broke the silence, whatever happened. And then my older sister kind of, apologized to my middle sister. And then my middle sister also apologized, and I was like, and then after that they were like good, like they were talking normally, and I was like, oh, that's how you deal with conflict. I was like, oh, so you're not gonna stop talking to each other for like a long time,
ignore each other.
That's weird, because I know we were raised in the same house, so where did you learn that? And I was like, wow, this is how people actually deal with conflict, and that's pretty cool, you know, like if I'm working on it now though, but if I'm upset with someone, I will be upset with you and just not talk to you. Because I just don't feel like talking to you, you made me upset. But it's actually normal to voice your concerns and how they've made you feel, and then after that move on from it. Like you don't have to prolong the awkwardness and the silence and the punishment. You can literally just get over it quickly. Which is such a weird thing to me, but it's how it's actually supposed to be. You're not supposed to have conflicts that's just ongoing unnecessarily.
I know. I mean, the thing that I hate the most is silent treatment, and one of the things I dislike about myself the most is the fact that I give silent treatments. It's funny, like the thing that the like treatment you dislike the most, you just adopt it.
I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, you know, as you grow up, you kind of see what you don't want to be. You see traits in other people that you don't want to be, or traits in someone that's close to you that you don't want to be. And then the older you get, you see yourself slowly but surely becoming that person that you said, I don't want to be. It's like, is this the law of attraction? Wait a minute. It's so weird. So weird. Because
for me, mainly, it's like my mother. Like, there's so many things about my mother. I'm like, and I just like, I'm seeing my mother in me. And it's like,
but at the same time, it's like, you become that person because that's all you've grown up seeing.
100%.
And there's this one quote that says how, you know, kids do as they see, not as they're told. So if they're told, you know, don't be mean, don't be mean, read, eat your vegetables, do whatever, keep telling them that, but you're not actually doing that. If you don't read, if you're mean to other people, if you're unkind, you know, they're going to do what they see. They're going to be a reflection of what you've taught them, of what you've 100%. Allowed them to be exposed to. And also, that's the thing with a lot of bullies, is that people are bullies because of what they see at home. So if you know bullies, probably because one of their parents is a bully to them, or a bully to someone else in their house. And if you see a kind person, because some kind people do live with mean people, so now they're forced to be kind because they really don't want to be that. But most of the time, if you see a kind person, someone who's very polite and someone who, you know, is just great, it's because they have a parental figure or just an authority figure, you know, that is that in their life. So they've seen those actions and they just mirror it. So it's very important how you expose your kids to, you know.
How you behave, exactly.
Expose them to what you want them to be.
Children are like sponges. They just soak up everything in the environment.
Exactly.
That is very true. That is scary.
I mean, it makes sense for us to turn into things that we may not necessarily like, because that's all we've seen, that's all we've grown up being exposed to.
Definitely.
So now it's hard to kind of break the cycle and be like, no, I'm going to be something different, because your system's going to be like, whoa, where did you learn that from? I don't know about this.
Definitely. Yeah.
Crazy.
I just, like, silent treatment, I think, well, it's just, I mean, I know my sister has also experienced it, but I feel like it's mainly used on me because obviously my mother knows like how effective it was for me and how, because I guess that's also a fault of mine, like every time she would use silent treatment on me, I'd be so good afterwards, or I'd apologize afterwards because I don't want to experience that again. So she obviously in her mind thought, okay, because this works, like every time I'll use it and then I'll get what I want from it, you know. But I think, like, for me, like, what I dislike the most about it, how it, like, impacts, like, my relationships in my life. And I'd say, like, mainly my, like, boyfriend, my romantic partner. It's been, like, most challenging because I have to unlearn those things. Like, firstly, I'm in such a mode where I feel like every time I do something wrong in the relationship, I think I'm gonna get silent treatment, and I push away.
That trauma is just seeping through.
Yes, I push away first before I feel that rejection, because silent treatment is like a form of rejection.
It is. It really
you feel
is.
rejected by your parents, and it's like such a hurtful feeling because those are the people who are supposed to love you,
rejected, exactly.
no matter what. And if your parents are rejecting you, it's like,
who's going to accept me then? I mean, if my own parents.
Exactly. So like,
I never thought of it like that. I never thought of it as a form of rejection. It's crazy.
So like,
is that why I hate rejection?
Probably.
Dang. Thank you for opening my eyes. Yeah.
So like, if like we're in conflict and I say something, because like another toxic thing that I've learned is like saying things that I shouldn't be saying that I know just to get a reaction, because anyway, that's another story for another day. And I say something like that, I'm like, at the back of my head, I know I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I know I'm wrong, and I like, his feelings are valid for being upset for something I've said. But like, my first response is to be like, I'll give you space, I'm sorry, baby, I'm a terrible like girlfriend, let me go. And you'll be like, no, I don't want you to go. But I push him away because I'm fearful that he's gonna isolate me first. Like, I do it first. Like, I do that even with friendships, like anything. Like, I will isolate first because it feels so much safer for me to feel like I'm in control.
Yeah, you feel more in control, yeah.
Than somebody rejecting me first.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I think I do the same thing. I've never thought of that. I really think I do the same thing.
That's where it comes from.
I need therapy. I need therapy.
Same.
No, that's insane.
Yeah.
This is why I like talking about these types of things, because you learn so much about yourself.
Definitely.
You're like, oh, I'm that toxic, huh? Oh, that's why I'm that toxic. That's crazy.
Definitely.
Dang. Yeah, I think if you've listened until this point, then I think this is a time for you to just reflect and just be like, you know, do I act in certain ways that I don't like, and why do I act that way?
Yeah. Okay.
We only have one more topic, don't worry. We're not going to load a whole lot of stuff on you. Don't worry. We'll leave that for part 2. But, okay. So moving on to our third and final topic. What's one toxic trait you have carried with you from how you were taught to deal with your emotions from childhood? I have too many.
I was actually going to be like, just one?
Too many.
Just one?
But I also do feel like in part we've kind of already talked about this, because in all the things we've talked about, we've also talked about how they've affected us now in the doubts.
It's difficult not to talk about how it affects you now, because it's a big part of who we are. Unfortunately, when you experience trauma, it like becomes a major part of you, and how you react to things. But I just like, for me, I'd say, like I was saying earlier, like I do think that I've adopted a lot of the negative qualities from my mom, and anxiety as well. Like, that's something I've really had to work on a lot, like my self-esteem and anxiety, because my mom has a very low self-esteem. And it's something I had to work on a lot, because like you were saying, like how you learn from like how your parents act. You know, seeing my mom being like anxious towards herself and like not enjoying life and like feeling really bad about herself, saying very negative things about herself, it made me think like, this is like the woman that I look up to, like she's my role model, and if she feels this way about herself, what makes me any better? You know what I mean? And also like, for example, something is towards driving. Like my mom is like extremely anxious driver, like it makes her very anxious, and I'm taking really long to get my license, because a big part of it is makes me think like, you know, like if it's so scary for someone who raised me, like am I gonna be able to do it, you know? And even though I know that's not true, like your rational mind knows those aren't true. Everybody's different, and that's her own personal problems. It's like, I feel like that child within you is always within you, 100%. And they have a big impact on your emotional reactions to
what
things.
You do, yeah.
You know? So I just like, I think like any like, even like you guys watching this, you might have different childhood trauma, but like anything that you've been through that has like negatively impacted how you behave or treat others, I think like the first step is like acknowledging it, like being aware of it. Like our parents aren't aware of these problems that they have.
I'm always preaching self-awareness. I think it's one of the most important quality or character traits that one needs to have, especially as you get older, because as much as yes, you do need to acknowledge that, okay, this is what happened when I was a kid, and this is why I act this way, and you know, I think quite a bit of your childhood traits can be kind of put, or I don't want to say blamed, but put on how your parents raised you.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you reach a stage where now you're aware of it and you still don't change, that becomes your fault now. You can't blame anyone else because now you're aware of it and you're still not putting in the effort to change. You can't blame them.
Yeah.
You need to start really being like, I need to be better. I need to do better. But yeah, sorry, I interrupted.
No, but I definitely agree. It's like we can all be accountable for ourselves at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Like, you know, and like even if you feel bad because you have your days where you're more anxious, or you have your days where you give other people silent treatment, or you literally in the moment of doing something like toxic that your parents do, like if you're able to stop in that moment and be like, okay,
I need to be better.
I see this, like I see what I'm doing, you're really like so much better than you think you are, you know, and you just like small change from there. But I'm saying this, but I have lots of self-work to do.
Very true. For me, what's one toxic trait I carry until now? I want to say anger.
Really?
I want to say anger. The other day I think I was praying about it, and I was like, I just feel like I have so much anger inside, like, and it's, I don't want to say I grew up around a lot of anger, but I did. I low-key did. And the other day I was thinking about how I feel like I umbrella all my emotions under anger. So even if I'm feeling sad, to me it just feels like it's anger. If I'm feeling if I'm feeling anxious, to me it just feels like it's anger. Like I've had a really hard time pinpointing what exactly I'm feeling, because the only emotion I really understood when I was younger was anger, which is so weird.
I have like a theory. Can I give you a theory?
Yes.
I'm a therapist. But like maybe it's because like every time you had an emotion, it was so invalidated, neglected, it turned into anger. So every emotion you had, it turned into anger because you felt misunderstood.
100%. 100%.
That is so interesting.
And even now, like when I'm having maybe a disagreement with somebody and I feel like I'm being invalidated, I get so pissed off and I'm like, no, now I start attacking you because now I feel invalidated. So it's like all my old emotions of not feeling valid is like, no, now I'm going to fight you because you're not hearing me. And I'm no longer that small girl that can't speak about how I feel. So if you make me start feeling like that, I feel caved in and boxed in. No, now you've unleashed like a beast in me that I don't even like. But definitely do try to work on my anger, and
that is so interesting.
And
that's like maybe understand.
And I mean, I do have days when I'm still pissed off, and I don't even know what emotion I'm feeling that day. But I've gotten so much better with
identifying.
With identifying what I'm feeling and articulating it, and also knowing when and when not to respond to a certain situation, because not everything needs a response. And I know if I'm a very emotional person, I'm super duper emotional. And I think a lot of the time I do try to cover it up and act more like than I actually am. But I'm very emotional. I will cry about everything. I will cry about every and anything. And I think also an understanding that I'm such an emotional person, I'm also very empathetic. So if someone's going through something, I'm going to feel what you're feeling.
Definitely.
And I've just kind of learned how to, okay, this situation, I'm just going to not even give it any attention because it's going to make me feel so burdened by the emotions of it that it's just going to be heavy on me. I don't want to feel that.
Yeah.
So, definitely gotten better with my emotions. Definitely gotten much better. But yeah, I would say I definitely carried a lot of anger with me from when I was a kid, and just so many of the things that happened
makes sense.
when I was a kid, and even in my like teenagehood. That's another trauma we need to speak about, teenage trauma, because there's a lot that happens in those years, but that's for another episode.
That is very true. Let's just stick to childhood, it's more simple.
But I think that is one toxic trait that I have carried with me.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, I only thought about it now actually when you were speaking. I was like, what's one thing I did carry with me? And then I just kept feeling anger. And I was like, oh, okay, there you go. That's what it is.
So anxiety and anger.
Yeah. Hey, hey! Damn. Anxiety and anger anonymous. Alcoholics Anonymous.
That's funny.
I don't know if we have anything more to talk about. I think this might be a bit of a shorter episode. They didn't feel that long. I hope I don't have too much editing to do. But I do really hope that if you've watched this, that you've learned maybe something new about yourself, or you've had something that triggered you to think about your emotions and just the person that you are now. And yeah, have these conversations with your friends, because it is important. Yes. I think we are, the future. We definitely are, and we need to be better with our kids. If you do decide to have kids, definitely give them a better example than what you were given. And if you don't decide to have kids, that's cool too. Give your friends and their kids.
Even just yourself.
Yeah, give yourself a better example, because also your relationship with yourself and how you see yourself goes out so much into your relationships with others.
Definitely.
So yeah, just keep being better bit by bit every day. It's fine if you relapse into your old ways. It's okay, but wake up the next day and be better. Even if it's just 1% better, 100% better, 5,000% better, but just be better.
Yes.
We love you, and you're doing great, sweetie. So
your emotions are valid.
Your emotions are very
so
valid. But also, if you are toxic,
they're valid
into yourself. Yeah, they're valid too, but take a look into yourself also. Don't always blame other people. And we love preaching self-awareness here, so this is for the self-aware baddies and kings, queens and kings. There you go. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, follow, whatever you can do. It would be greatly appreciated. And hope you're having a good day, or that you've had a good day. Mwah! That was the shortest episode I've ever filmed. I'm so happy.
I can feel my face when I'm with you, but I love it.